Accutron Watches presents. From New York City, this is the Accutron Show, a time travel through American culture with your hosts, Bill McCuddy, Scott Alexander, and David Graver. Visit AccutronWatch.com and discover the brand that has made American history with an all-new proprietary next-generation electrostatic energy movement. Accutron. It's not a timepiece, it's a conversation piece.
Nowadays, I do get inbox messages that some girls or boys, they will message me. They will be like, Gia, thank you for reconnecting me to my own culture.
Believe it or not, the person you heard at the top of the show is today's guest, DJ, selector, and producer Gia Fu, here to talk about the art of collecting records and what it means to be, and this is the do you believe part, the first Asian woman to produce a salsa record. She also has her own label. But first up, someone with no label. I'm Bill McCuddy, along with the very labeled Scott Alexander and editor David Graver, here on a new episode of the Accutron Show. Stay tuned. We're getting musical.
This podcast is presented by Accutron Watches. Visit our website, accutronwatch.com, and discover our iconic Space View 2020 collection, recreating the stunning visual impact of the original open dial design combined with an all-new electrostatic energy movement. Time just changed again. The Accutron Space View 2020.
Gentlemen, we are talking salsa music, not chips, just salsa.
No.
And I'm curious because this is a thing.
It took a while for that joke to set in.
Sure.
So it's a slow burn.
As all
slow
do.
burn.
Here's the thing about salsa. It was not particularly on my radar until my kid who just graduated college, in the midst of college, was like, "Hey, Dad, what you been doing? Being in the salsa club."
Really?
And going out to salsa bars. And then when he went away to Spain, all he did was go to salsa bars.
Well, okay, that makes sense. I mean, if you have an influencer in your own family that's been to
I was
a
like,
Latin
there's this
American
whole
country.
subculture going on with college students.
Yeah,
This
which is
college
crazy
students at
because
University of Virginia.
Salsa was our guest is, it's not your grandfather's salsa anymore. There's a whole new, market. And she has put an album together, a record label together, and we're going to like salsa.
I think we should all like salsa, and I'm very excited to like salsa.
It's like Weird Al, every time a new Weird Al album comes out, they go like, oh, Weird Al's back. And he's like, I never went away. It's the same thing. Salsa never went away. You go to any town of a decent size, Richmond, Virginia.
Yes.
Right. There's a bar that has a salsa night once a week.
Really?
And I guarantee you. So, Bill, you're a natural dancer. We all know this.
I'm the most unnatural dancer on the planet.
You are an unnatural dancer. That is true. That's what.
And
that's
salsa requires partners. Salsa, you
does.
have to you can't just stand there and look like.
Yeah, but it's
Linus
nice. It's sort of
the...
like it's the return to the old. It's not just like people getting up and it feels like everyone's dancing by themselves in a club, even when they're together. Everyone's dancing just near each other, as opposed to boy-girl dancing or boy-boy dancing or girl-girl dancing, whatever. But like partner dancing, I would like to dance with you, please. Right. Like asking someone to dance.
No one's ever said that.
And
to
there's
me.
no. Well, I know all this from my son, but like there's no sort of like overtones of weirdness. It's like everyone is expected. If you went out to dance, you're probably going to dance with 10 or 15 people. There's no romantic.
That may be expected, but an Asian woman who divides her time between Hong Kong and the United States, sort of rediscovering this and starting her own label, going down
and being a heck of a dancer,
but also a lot of what she does.
Bill.
Yeah,
can dance. Not like this.
A lot of what she does is let people dance at home. She's got 1.9 million views on her last YouTube DJ set. Social media and dancing online and DJing online is just as important as her Las Vegas residency with Mark Antony.
So she calls up Angel Melendez, who's a huge producer. They put out this album with 30 artists, including Tito Allen, Gilberto Pulpo, Colon Jr.,
I love that
Olivera.
His nickname is Pulpo. He's a keyboard
player. I know none
player,
of these
believe.
people, but
no,
they're
he's
huge.
a keyboard player. Like what do you call a keyboard player? You call him Pulpo, octopus.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Of course.
Yeah.
This will all be explained at the trial. When
Jimmy Pulpo came in, and then
Hey, look, we're
took the
talking
cannoli.
salsa, and we've got one of the world authorities today on the Accutron Show. Gia Fu joins us when we return. Don't go away.
This podcast is presented by Accutron Watches. Visit our website, accutronwatch.com, and discover our Accutron DNA collection. Reimagined for a new generation, the Accutron DNA combines breakthrough technology, precise engineering, and modern aesthetics to achieve a new level of technical excellence. The Accutron DNA, the new face of time for those who blaze new trails.
I'm excited because we're going to Hong Kong and we are talking to Gia Fu. Gia, welcome to the Accutron Show. I guess our first question is, why salsa? What was it about it? When were you attracted to it? When was the first time you heard it? Tell us the Gia Fu salsa story.
Okay, thank you guys for having me. My salsa story started when I was 15. I was dancing my entire life back then, and so I have different kinds of dance groups of friends, and one of them is break dancing. So one day I went to this competition with my friends, and if you all know, breakdancing kind of popularized and started in the Bronx,
Sure.
and a lot of dancers that time they were Puerto Rican, and so they sometimes would use a few salsa songs in their dancing. So I guess that's how it brought all the way to Hong Kong. And so when I went to that competition, um, if you can use your imagination right now, there's a stage in the middle and all the kids were sitting around the stage and the DJ in the corner. So the DJ suddenly starts to play Roberto Roena's song Que se sepa, and all the kids in the room doesn't speak a word of Spanish or English, and but somehow they all know how to sing this song. So when the first lyrics comes in is si do, so everybody started singing together.
Oh, wow.
And when the beat dropped, everybody just went crazy. So that's the first time I heard my first salsa, and I was so mesmerized by how music connects people from different culture together in one room.
I smell movie.
It feels like a scene from a
It
movie.
does feel like you actually transformed that into an academic study. You studied Hispanic American language in university.
Yes, I was majoring because since that time I decided I wanted to study Spanish. So um, at first I didn't know what's the entire thing about salsa. So I thought like, oh, okay, I just want to listen to music in Spanish in general, and I didn't know like history wise, cultural wise. I don't know much that time when I was like younger. So eventually, I wanted to know more about this music, which is salsa, and I couldn't get any resources in Hong Kong, and the only thing I could get close to and like study more is to major in this Spanish studies. And in one focus, they let us pick what we want to focus on, and then I picked Hispanic studies, and my main writing focus was on Cuban films. But doing the films, because it's the only thing I can talk about the music. So my professor is like, okay, she picked Cuban film. But the whole thing I was writing for my graduation essay, like, is like a film analysis. All I wrote about was the music, the background music.
So you snuck your way into the music. You're kind of worming your way there.
Yes.
So when you were describing your first time and seeing it with breakdancing and everything, it was very visual. And I just wonder, it was brand new to you, but there must have been something that was familiar about it. What is it about salsa that is like music you'd heard before?
It's actually what captures me the most was the salsa dancing part. So apart from from when I first heard the salsa, the first time I knew that you could dance to a song in a partner form, like the old way, like the guy would ask a girl to dance like politely, and it was the first. It was when I was traveling by myself before I got into university. But I was in Greece, Santorini, and I was staying in a hostel, and one day it was so hot and everybody was on their phone, and then there's this Puerto Rican guy who was also traveling, and then he was like, how come everybody's on their phone? They're like, you guys are traveling, like you're supposed to enjoy. So then he put on like some salsa music, and then he taught everybody in the hostel to dance. So that's the first time I knew that you could dance to a song like that, which it reminds me so much because my mom was a dance teacher, so I've been dancing ballet and Chinese traditional dance my whole life before I first heard this.
Okay.
So I always couldn't find myself in that two dances because it's so like is so structural. Like they teach you all the steps, they tell you all the movement, but after you learn everything, you cannot really improvise yourself, if you know what I mean. So when I first knew that you could dance to that, like in a partner way, you follow the lead, and then when they let you go, you just do whatever you feel like. So that's the thing that keeps me the most the first time, and also a lot of factors on the other side.
How do you transition this passion for salsa into becoming such a prolific collector of vinyl and then an international DJ?
Well, when it was during like parallel times to when I was doing my major in university, and also that's when I first met my mentor in Hong Kong. He's from Curaçao, Caribbean island, and he grew up listening to this music, and then somehow he found his way to Hong Kong, and he was one of the organizers of some salsa parties in Hong Kong. And then he saw that I was so crazy in school, and I was just trying to like figure out everything. And he asked me if I wanted to learn more about the music, and he asked me if I wanted to like start to learn to play for this kind of parties. So then, because in Asia it's still not so new, but the scene just doesn't have like new faces that time. So he's like, do you want to try, like, and then I said, yeah, why not, because I just want to learn more. So I'm like, cool, let's do it. And then on the other side, he also like kind of pushed me to do like to learn how to actually DJ, like mixing, scratching, like practicing, because he tell me like if you want to do salsa, it's more about the knowledge behind and the selection. Because when you play for a dancing crowd, is more for people to dance, to enjoy, and because salsa, they have their song structure, and when you play it, you don't want to mess with that.
Right. You just want to play the record. Yeah. You don't want to necessarily mix it too much or mix it with something else.
So
house music for a different kind of house, for like a different kind of audience.
Well, they already mixed it. Like they already made a dance mix, an extended dance remix. It's on the record. Just play the darn record. So how big is your vinyl collection at this point?
I have 2,500.
Okay.
All salsa records.
and you've traveled all over the world doing this. Do you look for vinyl everywhere you go? And what's the best place to look?
Yes, that's the first thing I do.
Oh, yeah?
Actually, I have never been to Latin America yet.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But so a lot of vinyls I started buying in France and Italy first.
Yeah. Okay.
these last few years, I went to the US more, so I bought the most of my records in New York.
Okay.
Also during the pandemic times, I met like different collectors online, and then they would send me like videos of like their stash and
Wow.
and I'll be like, I want.
Oh, really?
Wow.
They'll flip through it for you?
Yeah,
Oh,
and then they would send videos, and then I would send them videos of what I got. Like it's kind of like exchanging, but then at the same time they're selling to me as well.
Sure. Right.
Gia, when we come back, we are going to ask you to show us some of those and describe them to people listening to this podcast if they're not watching it on YouTube. So we're going to take a slight break. When we return, more with Gia. We're spinning discs with one of the most international DJs, and this is the Accutron Show. Don't go away.
This podcast is presented by Accutron Watches. Visit our website, accutronwatch.com, and discover our legacy collection, reviving some of the most memorable Accutron watches from the 60s and 70s. The legacy collection combines timeless design with the technical excellence of Swiss watchmaking, each limited to 600 individually numbered pieces. The Accutron Legacy Collection, inspired by the past, built for the future.
We're back with Gia Fu, and we're talking about salsa. It's an incredible topic because I think it's ignored by a lot of people, but you've sort of taken up the mantle and even put together a huge big band album of all of this. Tell us about assembling that and what the germ of that idea was.
That happened during the pandemic. So as I was sharing before, I was just sharing with you guys how I started DJing and playing for salsa parties, and a part of me that when I decide to do something, I I would just go really really deep about it because I'm very stubborn, and that's because of how I was brought up on my mother's side, because she's a dance teacher, and then yeah, that's that part. I'll leave it out first. So but it's just I'm very stubborn when it comes to how I decide to do something, especially on how you appreciate an art or culture. I wanted to do it right, and I want to know everything about it. So when during the pandemic, I was looking for this one song by the artist that I eventually produced an album with, that I was looking for it for like months, and then I sent it to my mentor. I had this little recording that I went to that I got from my friend, and then I sent it to my mentor. I'm like, do you know who's this by? And somehow my mentor, he used to live in Chicago, so he's like, oh, this is the artist that lives in Chicago, the salsa artist that's based in Chicago, that I heard it like maybe 20 years ago, the song. And so I'm like, what? And eventually he connected me with this artist who his name is Angel Melendez. So we had a Zoom call, FaceTime, and I was just simply asking him, "Oh, can you please like, do you know where can I get this song?" And then he just sent me the song. He's like, "I was just sent it to you," and then we just started talking about other stuff because everybody was in quarantine that time. So I was just telling him how I started DJing, kind of like now, and I was showing him the records. Like we were talking about how we both love the big band sound in salsa and in different kinds of music, because it's like salsa nowadays, especially the commercial ones, it's just very clean and very studio, like it's just different than how it used to be. So we were just talking about it, and then I was telling him, oh, I have these records that I got it from Colombia, is like it has the potential to be so good because the melody sounds really good, but because I think with the limited resources they had that time during like 70s 80s, it just didn't came out so nicely. It's just the recording. So I was just telling him, oh, if these songs and or if these artists have had the resource that time, or like rearrange it in a big band style, it would sound so great. And then he's like, I can easily do that because is he normally arrange for big bands. He has his own big band in Chicago, so he's like, yeah, let, let's do something about it then, because we have
And to be
nothing to
clear,
do.
Gia, and to be clear, a lot of salsa was little combos and trios and just four people together making the music. And the idea of now having a big band do this was a little bit of a novelty.
I think um, I'm not sure if I should say this, but I think it's because um, the music industry has gotten more commercialized. So, and and in order and now, apart from salsa music, when you do like electronic music, everybody just use like digitalize, like you make the beat by yourself at home, but
Sure.
instead salsa still record each musician individually.
Right.
So
No,
if
no, I
you
think
want
you're
to
right. And
do,
this idea was to get real
yeah,
people together and put together a big band, which I think is kind of cool.
Did this also
yes.
lead to the creation of your record label, Kong Records?
Yes, we actually just created that record label in like 10 minutes
Oh
because
wow.
we wanted to, because we were like, okay, we gotta release this album, but like we gotta make a label. So that's just like little very short, super short
So you
story.
made a band to make the record, you made a label to make the record. It's all just like, let's just get this record done, whatever it needs to be done. How many
Yes,
pieces
is
are in the band?
huh?
How many players in the band?
uh 20 players each song,
Oh,
and
wow.
20.
in total we had 30 artists participating.
That's a big band.
Oh,
I mean, 20
congratulations.
is a lot of.
And where did you do it? Where did you produce it?
Well, at first we tested with two songs because we were just deciding how many piece of a band that we wanted. So we're like, we either do it right or we just don't do it. So Angel gave me a choice of like, oh, you want 12? Do you want like 6? Do you want like 16, 14, like 20? And then I said, then he gave me the maximum is like 20. So I'm like, let's go with 20.
So 20
So,
sounds good.
so, so, so we started with two songs. And the first time we recorded two songs is when I took two older songs from the older albums I have, and then it's kind of like a cover. So he is like a test. So he Angel went to Puerto Rico to record there by himself first, and then that time I was still in Hong Kong and couldn't go anywhere. So I was just sitting at home and waiting for him, and and then it came out really good. So the second time and the third time, I flew to Puerto Rico to join the recording session and be there.
Were you surprised by how critically well received it was, that everyone loved it?
Yes. Well, I never really focus on that part because I is like a whole learning journey for me. Because when I first
Right.
started, I didn't expect to be the entire album of 12 songs. I was just gonna do two songs. We are just gonna test two songs, but
Well, you really just tried to get
and
this one record, and then you ended up producing an album. So
yeah, we were just testing two songs, and it eventually ended up with an album. So I was basically focused more on the process than how it was received, because I was learning everything by myself. I didn't know how to release songs online. I didn't know how to use this online distribution. So it was a mess. And then I gotta after I release it digitally, and somehow some people from Mexico and Colombia, they heard it because of the musicians that were on the album. They were so famous that their followers knew about the album, so they were messaging me. They're like, "Hey Gia, like we don't use Spotify, we don't use Apple Music, we only still listen to CDs." So I'm like, okay, so I gotta do a CD.
Oh
Okay.
And
wow.
then and then so I was doing the CD. I was like, oh, I gotta get this done. So we send the material to print the CDs. And then after that, well, because I collect so many vinyls, of course I would do a vinyl.
Right, I figured.
And so then after this CD I did the vinyl, so it was
Isn't
like
vinyl
I
vinyl is very hard to get pressed now, right? Isn't there long waiting lines? There's only certain number of factories, and there's a big wait.
Yes, in the US,
Okay.
Right.
and Europe. I press mine in Taiwan. It's like a very small
Oh,
company, and is owned by a bunch of audiophiles. So like they're very precise, and there is a very small business
but
that
you
they
can get it
had.
done faster in Taiwan than in the
Yes.
United States. Okay, interesting.
Speaking of vinyls, do you have some that you'd be interested in showing us? Some that are very
Yes.
meaningful to you?
Yeah, and describing for people listening. What are we
Yes.
looking at?
So this is the first one that I want to share is Grupo Baruch. I think is how it pronounced is Baruc. And
Baruch.
I want to share this is because this is my first vinyl,
Oh,
my
okay.
first salsa
Oh
record
wow.
that I got. Is because I found one of the songs online, and I was trying so hard to get the digital format, but because I never want to like just I never want to rip songs from YouTube, so I'm like I gotta find a way to get this song instead of, because I yeah, that's just how stubborn I was. So
Mhm.
so then I eventually knew that it was on actually on a record. So I'm like, okay, now I need to get this. And
Yeah, some of the
this
music you're describing isn't on YouTube, right? I mean, it's
is not.
very. You talked about a song that took 20 years to. I mean, and finding the guy in Chicago, and like, this is almost folklore. This music, it's almost handed down, and maybe isn't published places. So, you're sort of like tr- out there, like a scientist looking for this stuff, like having to do
More
a
like a
geological dig.
explorer. Yes. Well, and that's what I wanted to share this album. The other reason is because when I was invited by my analog journal, the YouTube channel, to do my first YouTube set, that kind of got many views. But and then I it helped me to open like a new audience, that like people from around the world, then they can listen to salsa, like. But when he asked me to play, he's like, oh Gia, this is a vinyl set only channel, so I would like you to do a salsa vinyl set. So I was thinking, if I'm gonna do a salsa vinyl set, I wouldn't want to just play songs that were already accessible online. Like I
Right.
didn't want to just play songs that were already on the Spotify, iTunes. So I'm like, okay, then I'm gonna do a set that I know I think is danceable, and songs that I like, but actually not so popularized. So I did that first Colombian salsa record set, and I eventually it got, man, a lot of audiences listen
Mhm.
to. And then I started my own YouTube channel because I just want to keep doing it and to share what I have, because normally in Hong Kong I just don't go out, I just stay at home and listen to everything I have. So, and this is on my first set on my channel. And last time when I did the gig in Las Vegas with with Pepe, the producer of this album was there.
Oh,
Oh
Oh
nice.
wow.
Oh,
So
cool.
it's like a circle
Yeah,
complete.
our producer Beppe gets to hobnob with all the cool people while we sit in this room with no windows or doors.
But it must be. I
So
would imagine that some of these people that you're spinning, they're finding a new audience through you. They must be so happy to hear this music they made 10, 20, even 30 years ago
Yeah, good
coming
point.
back out.
I hope they feel that way, but a lot of the artists like the Colombians also said that I did. A lot of the artists I cannot find them online, or they are like so much older, or
Right.
they probably wouldn't be on social media, so they probably wouldn't heard about it.
Right. Yeah,
And
it's hard to even track them
but
down. I have a.
yes,
This is sort of a funny question. I'm curious to hear what you have to say about it. There's a lot of talk these days about people promoting things that are only that are you're only allowed to do it if you're from the culture. So if you're from Puerto Rico, you can promote
yes,
Puerto Rican music. If you're from Colombia, you can, if you're going to be in a movie, you should be of the race or of the gender or of the
Right.
whatever. There seems to be these
yeah,
new rules coming out. I find it so refreshing that somebody who is not from the Caribbean or not from
yes.
Central America or anywhere, that someone from a completely different culture became fascinated with this and then just loving it so much and promoting it so much. But have you run into any opposition where people say, "Hey, do you have the right to do this?" Being from Hong Kong.
Great question.
Luckily, I haven't. I I knew that some people eventually would feel that, but luckily I haven't received this kind of comment yet.
Okay, good.
Because most of the people, they would, the not negative, but like they, more people were focusing on how I'm the girl in the video dancing. More people will focus on that
Well,
instead
you
of
are the girl in that
I mean,
video that we've all seen, something like 2
instead
million
of
times. So
yeah.
congratulations on that. Listen, you were talking about the older established people in this business, and that was who the audience was. So you also said you're not that concerned with how popular an album may or may not be, but it must be gratifying that it's gotten the kind of recognition that it has. And has it surprised you that a younger audience now is sort of, thanks to you, discovering salsa?
um uh, yes, I wouldn't say thanks to me, because uh everything that I'm doing is really starting from how much I love this music,
Mm.
and the more I learn in school about the history, social impact on um, how the social, like for example, social injustice in like impact on how the music sound, or like how people express themselves. So whatever I'm doing, I really just want people to appreciate this as I am. And so it just, even when I produced this album, I was just thinking about how I didn't want to just play music. I didn't want to just be a DJ. I want to involve more and contribute to this community. And I didn't think much. Instead of just like, I want to do more, I want to do more, I want to contribute, I want, how can I do more for this and make more people listen to it. But I do get nowadays, I do get like inbox messages that some girls or like boys, they will message me, they will be like, Gia, thank you for reconnecting me to my own culture.
Yeah.
Because I saw your YouTube video and saw how much you love salsa, and it really amazed them to see that I'm from so far away. And some people would text me that they started taking salsa lessons just because of
Oh, wow.
watching the videos.
I think you're way too humble about the role you're playing in this. I think it's great that you're doing it. The album is amazing. Kong as a label will continue to thrive, I'm sure, on vinyl and CD, as we've learned. And it has been a pleasure to come to Hong Kong with you for this podcast. And we hope the next time that you're in New York, we can come and see you and maybe try to do some salsa dancing.
I'll watch David.
Yeah, we'll both watch David. Gia Fu, thank you so much for joining us on the Accutron Show.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Gia.
Thank you for listening to the Accutron Show. To listen to all of our shows, visit accutronwatch.com. To learn more about the world of Accutron, follow us on Instagram at AccutronWatch and subscribe to our podcast. From New York City, until next time, Accutron time.